Okay, we are live. Alright, can you hear me? Robin, are you with us?
Yes, can you not hear me?
I couldn't for a second, but now I can.
All right. Forgot to turn off the air conditioning. One moment. All right, now I'm back.
Alright. So, do we want to recap what this actually is, or do we want to just get straight into it?
I'll give a little bit of a recap. Hello, we have patrons who at $5 and up can submit questions for a monthly Q&A, and this was the first month in which we had paying patrons at that level, and so this is the very first month with our Q&A. And the audio from this Q&A will be available to patrons at every dollar level after this event. And if you would like to get that, or you want to keep this audio, the best way to access it after this 2-hour event is to become a patron.
Yeah, so we've got some questions submitted already. We're going to go ahead and answer those for you guys and have a discussion. Feel free to comment in our text box in the live chat. And audio from this stream will be available for our patrons on Patreon for anybody that missed it after probably maybe a week or so.
Yeah, because we'll have to.
Depending on my work schedule, essentially.
Yep.
Let me actually just double check if that is in fact captured. Yes. It should be. Okay. Alright. So, Robin, do you have any particular questions that you really want to start with?
Can you make sure everything is unmuted, because I had the stream up in a separate window and no audio is coming through there for me.
You had the music coming, right?
Yeah, I had the music and then now I have nothing.
Oh no. I see our audio being transmitted. Like visually I see it.
Yeah, I don't have anything. And it... Okay, I caught it. We're good.
What happened?
I don't know, but it's working now, so everything is fine.
Alright. Okay. Is there any particular question that you really want to start with? Or we could literally roll an online dice if we want.
I mean, if you want to roll a 41-sided die, I'm up for that. I shouldn't be surprised that there's a random-sided die thing online.
So many. Ironically, I clicked on one that is basically for DMs, and you kind of have to sign up first. So I'm going to click a different one. Okay, here we go. We have random.org/dice.
Well, before we get a random question, I just wanted to quickly say, just in case someone just found this stream and is just watching, we are the hosts of the Book That Burned podcast, which is a fortnightly book review podcast about fictional depictions of trauma. We are focusing on young adult literature, but not limited to that. If there's a really good book that we want to cover, even if it's not YA, we'll occasionally do that. But young adult is our focus.
Yes.
And with that, let's roll those virtual dice.
I don't think that's working out super well because I can't find the generator I've used before. Anyways, we got 7.
Excellent. All right.
This
one is yours because this question makes no sense to me. The question is, if your life was a book.
Wait till I actually copy pasted so our audience can.
Okay. Well, I was going to read it while you're copying it.
See it first is what I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
There we
go. All right. If your life was a book, what genre would it be? What would be on the front? And if it had a custom binding, what would it be made out of?
Alright. So I think this is kind of an interesting one because I think at different points in my life I would consider it to be different genres. So I feel like when I was a kid, I don't know, I feel like I would probably have seen it. I feel like... Okay, Robin, we can't do this now.
Okay.
You can... Alright, so...
Alright.
I feel like when I was a kid, I would have seen it as more of like a slice of life. And then as I get older, I probably would have seen it as more of a horror story, or an adventure story, depending.
I
feel like I don't know. I feel like my life is pretty boring, but I don't know. I feel like if it was Yeah, I think I would. I think I would probably put it, I guess, more on like the adventure section in general. I tend to approach things as like things that I'm going through as being like a continuous event, whereas like mystery or horror or dystopian tends to be more like, or not dystopian, but mystery or horror tends to be more segmented, and my life is definitely not a romance novel. And I feel just like generalized adventure story would probably be my
Okay. And like I said, my brain doesn't process this question as an analogy in any kind of useful way. So let's roll the dice and get another question, because the answer for me is does not compute.
well, in that case, I'll answer the other two parts of it. So,
yeah.
I think on the front, I would probably kind of generically have a dagger.
Our logo was going. Our logo was going to have a dagger until I was like, "Hey, we don't need that. It doesn't make sense." You're very into daggers. So I can confirm that makes sense for you.
Logical.
Yes.
Custom binding. I actually really like, like the kind of fuzzy bindings. You know what I'm talking about? I don't actually know what they're made out of.
No.
It's not quite leather. But it's
felt?
I don't know. It might be felt. I don't think
it's okay.
I would have to find one and like take a picture of it if I can, but I mean I probably wouldn't in a library, to be fair. But it's not paper. It's almost a type of cloth. Probably a cloth binding. All right, Robin, you pick the next question. We're not gonna roll the dice.
We're not gonna roll the dice.
Nope. We're gonna go by what we feel like.
That's fine. Okay, so I'm picking number 14.
Oh, did you tweet that we're live?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I put the links in the places. Hopefully people are live and tuning in. My pick is question number 14, and I'm going to read it while you're copy pasting it over. Is there a genre you intend to read on the podcast that you typically avoid when reading?
We've actually talked about this one on our own.
Yeah, so we fully intend to have a horror novel on the podcast.
More than one, to be fair.
Yeah, there's a very particular one that we actually already recorded. And if you want to know our future book schedule, become a patron. But that's far enough out.
We do have that posted for our patrons. We've at least one. We have a couple others, I think, in our to read, to record section, in our own planning. I think for me, I don't actually avoid horror. I tend to. This is going to come to no surprise to most people at this point. We've had at least one series that's got us where we've talked about this. I tend to avoid romance.
Oh yeah.
Just in general, and I also tend to avoid mystery. I think, like, I've definitely read some mystery books, but mystery books tend to be so focused on the figuring out of, or like the characters experiencing the clues.
Mm-hmm.
But you're never given, like, if I'm gonna read something or watch something that's mystery focused, my brain is kind of focuses on trying to solve it, and a good mystery novel doesn't do that for you, because they don't want you to solve it. They want you along for the ride and then to experience the discovery and whatever. They don't want you knowing who it is on page 2 and then frustrated for like 300 pages while the characters run around not knowing what's happening. And so I don't really get to really, it's really hard for me to engage with mystery books as much, just because I'm not, as an audience, I'm not being handed the clues in the same way that I would be if I was in the, like, physically there. And I don't know, it's just not as fun for me to read.
Yeah, and in my opinion, a well-crafted mystery novel, if it's the kind where you're meant to solve it, it's one where you figure out what's going on about a chapter before the characters put it all together, because then you get to feel really smart and like you solved the thing, but you aren't so far ahead and that it's boring. Yeah.
That's the thing. I think that is literally the thing that makes them boring to me, because either if I can solve it really far ahead, well, now I'm just sitting there waiting for the book to catch up, and if I can't, just watching people run around not knowing what's going on isn't enough.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, I don't know. I just don't really care as much, and especially when it's a book and there's not as much visually for you to kind of track that's not the plot. I just don't care. Like I really like mystery episodes of shows that I'm already engaged with, emotionally or mentally, but I don't really care about just watching or reading a mystery just to do it. I would much rather go solve something. I'd much rather like be there in the situation. Like I really like escape rooms. Those are fun. Those are tangible, you know. So
not I have mentioned on the podcast, I am claustrophobic. I am not going to be in an escape room.
That's fair.
Nope. Not going to happen. All right. I would like question 19.
Okay.
Is there any book where you'd recommend the movie interchangeably with the book? I actually have my answer for this one. Do you want to say yours first?
Nope.
If you have one. Okay. For me, hands down, it's Coraline. That's actually part of why I wanted us to cover Coraline, is because, in my opinion, the movie did such a good job with the story that not only am I completely comfortable recommending them, they are not the identical experience, but someone who has read only the book can discuss the story with someone who has seen only the movie. And the only thing they'll need to clear up at the start is that there's a character in the movie who is not in the book, and the reason he's there is that the reason he's there is because Coraline, the book, is a girl monologuing to herself a lot and also having things happen. That's the most boring way to describe Coraline. I'm sorry. That narratively, that's part of what's going on.
Yeah, narratively, Coraline has a similar.
Yeah, she is. She's the one talking the whole time. She spends a lot of time alone because it's a book about how her parents aren't really interacting with her, and that makes the whole plot happen. But a character just talking to themselves works really well in a book and not as well on screen. So they created this boy about her age. His name is Wybie. If I remember correctly, his name is Wybie Born, but I might be wrong about that.
Oh, no.
It might be that he's just nicknamed Wybie Born in the other place.
Oh.
But the phrase Wybie Born is one that I associate with him. I know his name's Wybie.
Yeah.
Anyway, because of that, because of how smoothly it's integrated, and because of how evocative the images are in very certain, like, touchstone places in the books, like the bit where the sink is dripping, like, that's described in the book, it's shown in the movie, it's captured so well that I read the book several years later. The movie came out and I saw it, and like a year or so after that, I then read the book again, and I was like, where's Wybie? He was never in the book. Oh my goodness. And it's so well done. Yeah, I love the book. I love the movie. They're not identical. But yeah, like I said, like, you could listen to our episode, and if you had only seen the movie, it would completely be intelligible. Which is not the case with every adaptation.
Yes. honestly, there are very few film visual depictions of movies that I've also seen, or depictions of books that I've also seen. So my answer is going to actually have to be a show. There's also very few show adaptations that I have both seen the show and read the book. I have my brain doesn't really like going back and forth on different versions of things. Like even with anime, if I have no issues watching either subbed or dubbed, but whichever version I watch first, I kind of stick with that one. Like I'm never really gonna seek out Hayao Miyazaki's movies in Japanese because I saw them first in English when I was a kid. But at the same time, like Blue Exorcist, I'm never gonna watch the English dub, you know. In that context, I actually would recommend this series of Unfortunate Events. I would recommend the show as much as I would the books.
I can't speak to that because I haven't seen the latest iteration of the show. I just saw the not good iteration of the show from several years ago.
It's pretty good. Neil Patrick Harris nails Count Olaf. It's amazing. It's very funny. All of the characters are great. The scenery is great. The visual depictions of things give the same feeling that reading their descriptions did. Yeah, I fully endorse that one. I fully recommend it. It's great.
You should pick one.
Yeah, I'm looking. Alright, this one I know we have a full answer for. So, this one was actually... this one we got as a question, and Robin started answering it to me. So I want that answer on air. So...
Oh, the ketchup one?
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh.
We're gonna go with that one first.
Okay, sure. I am a pineapple on pizza person. I don't know when I discovered this. I just know that as far back as I can remember, my pizza order literally every time was sausage and pineapple. I have modified it occasionally. I'll get beef with pineapple. Depends on what pizza place I'm using. I currently have a lot of pizza from a place called Lit Pizza, which is really great, except I like red peppers and tomatoes and pineapple and roasted garlic. It's a pizza place that lets you do all that. And I basically can only pick 2 of those any one time or the pizza is soggy. It's a struggle.
Oh,
I just kind of rotate around those 4 ingredients along with all the other stuff that I don't vary. But yes, firmly pineapple on pizza.
I am going to need to expand my answer also. I am firmly a non-pineapples on pizza, but I'm also a firmly, non-anything on pizza.
Yeah, you just...
I don't even know if this counts as an answer to this question, because I literally only eat cheese pizza. Now, I will tell you that if you are an only cheese pizza eater, the trick to getting very, very good cheese pizza that's not just boring and cheese is to put multiple types of cheese on it. Actually, if you don't have to order from there, but if you go to the Domino's menu and you look up the toppings for their 6-cheese pizza and just put all of those cheeses on your pizza, it's really good. They put feta and cheddar and Parmesan, and I think there's one more along with the regular mozzarella.
So you're cheese only, but all the cheeses.
Cheese only, but I want all of the flavors of cheese, yes. And also, pro pizza tip. I've worked at a couple different pizza places. Fun fact. Pro pizza tip: put Italian seasoning in your sauce layer if you make it at home, or put it on top of your cheese if you're eating it. Or just in general, just put Italian seasoning on your pizza, even if it's already in it somewhere. It just makes it better. And put Parmesan cheese on top of all of your pizzas, because it's good. Alright, your turn to pick a question.
I wanted to talk about the ketchup question.
Okay.
which was, where do you keep ketchup, fridge or cupboard? And my answer is fridge, but I have an anecdote that goes with this. When I was in engineering school, one of our professors was talking about the need for diversity in team groups, and they were talking about diversity of experience in addition to other kinds of diversity. And one of the ways that they illustrated this was they asked class, hey, where do you keep your ketchup? And a bunch of people said fridge, a bunch of people said cupboard. It blew my mind. I had never heard of cupboard as an option at that point. And they said that if the part of why this illustrates how diversity of thought will help is because if you keep your ketchup in the fridge, then you think of the ketchup as going with other things that belong in the fridge, like ranch dressing, or salad dressings that also need to be in the fridge, and mayonnaise and mustard. If you keep your ketchup in the cupboard, then maybe you think of ketchup as going along with oil and vinegar, and I don't know what else you would keep in the cupboard with it because I don't do that. But other things that are not refrigerated. And so just something as simple as that is if you're like doing something with food and you have half people who think of ketchup as going with one list of things and half people who think of it as going with another, then your ideas related to that are going to be more diverse than if you have only people from either set. And it's been, several years since then. And the instant I saw this question submitted, it was, oh, I have this whole thing with that because it was such an evocative thought experiment story kind of a thing.
So I actually think the answer is both. I think that you should keep ketchup in the cupboard when it's unopened, and once you pull the seal off, it's a fridge item.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
I would have that, except I don't go through ketchup fast enough.
Oh, I don't buy ketchup ever.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why this is my. Yeah, this is just kind of head knowledge for me. I don't even have ketchup in my house.
No, I have ketchup in my house because my wife likes ketchup on lots of things. I'm not a condiments person in general. But yeah, in the fridge once it's open. But I'm not upset or judging anyone who keeps it in the cupboard. It's just not how I grew up. I know that's one of those like fight kind of questions, and I'm just like, nope. But since my introduction to the other thing was this whole thing about how diversity of thought is important, it's just not a very charged question for me.
Yeah, I feel like people listening to our answers are probably going to care way more than we do about
those particular two.
Yeah, because apparently those are.
Because I'm like, pineapple on pizza, but if you don't want it, then I get more pineapple. I'm not mad.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. All right. All right. Let's take a look at question 25.
Okay.
It's, what's your favorite Power Ranger? Do you have one? I have never seen the show.
I haven't either.
Okay.
Okay, that's not true. I have seen Power Rangers. I have seen the one that was out in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a favorite. I never really did. I saw that and then switched to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I saw a thing several years ago about what the Pink Power Ranger actress is doing now, and at the time I was super excited for them. I don't remember what that news was anymore because it was news 2 years ago about a show that I never watched. But if you want to hear people talk about Power Rangers, this isn't where.
Okay, let's watch that as kids. Is there? Let's change this question then. Instead of saying we don't have anything to say, is there a cartoon show with a Power Rangers type color coded superheroes that you have a favorite on?
Across the board, even for shows I haven't seen, it's the purple one.
Okay.
But as far as I know, Power Rangers doesn't have a purple one, which is why I don't even have a default answer.
I'm trying to remember who, since I mentioned TMNT, I'm trying to remember who was Donatello the purple turtle?
Bold of you to assume that I have watched TMNT.
Oh no. What shows did you watch? Like a middle schooler or like a grade schooler.
Bold of you to assume that I was doing anything other than binging Law and Order SVU.
Oh boy.
Yep, that's what I did in middle school for TV. Oh, I mean, I watched The Most Extreme, but that doesn't get like.
That's. I mean,
not.
That's that's fine.
Sneaked, watching Whose Line Is It Anyway? But like, I was reading 2 books a day and then going to my part-time job. Like,
that's fair.
Wasn't
Princess.
I liked Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends had some purple friends.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite?
No, I didn't see that enough.
Wow. All right.
Yep.
Well,
next question.
Almost. Hold on. Purple turtle. I need to know who the purple turtle is. I'm just double checking. I was right. It's Donatello. Wait. Hold on. No, that might be wrong. What color are the Ninja Turtles? Okay. Oh, wow. This is not a help. Okay. This isn't helpful because it starts out with, in general, the Mutant Ninja Turtles are green, although the shade of green varies. Okay, website. I was right. Donatello is the purple turtle. So Donatello would have been your favorite. Okay, new question now. I just needed to actually answer that. You want to pick it or you want me to?
You can pick it.
Okay. I would like to go with number 26. Is language inherently traumatic?
So, what's your answer to this?
I think that I think
because I live with a poet who ranted a lot about Lacan about 2 years ago, so I have some
opinions
about this, but I want your answer first.
I think the answer is yes.
Okay.
I think that if used in an accurate and descriptive way, any language that intentionally outlines itself so as not to be traumatic ends up being inaccurate. At a certain level. I don't think that means that every word is inherently traumatic. I think that if you shape your language to inherently not have anything in it, it's no longer helpful and accurate and real.
So that's my argument. I would say then, how do you understand this question?
I think I don't know.
So, my answer is formed by, again, like I said, lots of discussions with my wife over the years. Mm-hmm. And I agree. I agree with her idea. In her case, informed by Lacan and whatever else she's read, and in my case, informed by arguing with her, that language is this weird parasite that kind of infects your brain. And every time you decide to say or not say something, your meaning is going to be communicated less than whatever the thought was in your head. because language is an imperfect interface. And I don't know if I would go so far as to call that traumatic. But it is a selection and an excising of sorts.
I mean, yeah, because when you're putting a concept into words, you're picking the things about that concept that you need to transmit the most.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that it necessarily hurts something through that process inherently. Because in order to have that, you'd have to be saying that there was some entity that was hurt. And I don't know if I would go that far writ large, but I'm intrigued by this question, and I will probably give her this question and talk about it later.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, this is kind of a funky one because I don't think I interpreted it to mean the same thing you did, but
yeah, okay. Definitely not.
So the senior assistant editor, in case this is getting picked up on our audio, which I'm not actually sure.
It's getting picked up about half as much as you're telling her to be quiet.
Okay, fair enough. She is meowing at me in the hallway, which I think she wants me to go sit downstairs because she wants to be downstairs, but she doesn't want to go by herself. She wants us as a family unit to all migrate downstairs. And so she's meowing at me with the come over here and see what I'm talking about meow at the top of the steps. And if I go over there, she will go down the steps. She's literally telling me, hey, it's downstairs time now. That's what's happening. And that's why I'm telling her, hey, like, quit it. Because I know what she wants, and she knows I know what she wants, and she wants me to go downstairs instead of being up here. Okay. Next question. Let's do something that's semi-podcast related, because we've done a lot of, like, random ones.
Okay.
I kind of like number 2.
All right. What book on the maybe list would you want to read most, even without the podcast? Give me one moment while I pull up our maybe list. What's on our maybe list? It's a very long list. All right. Pulling up. What, book list or research needed?
I think both. Anything we haven't actually read yet. Or no, research needed, probably.
Research needed? All right.
Princess. I'm saying...
most of the research needed are things that I've never read at all, which is why they're on research needed.
Well,
that's the... Well, I mean, literally all I have to go off is with the title, and I don't have excitement based on that. One that I'm pushing for us to discuss eventually, but there's not really any urgency to it because the book's already this old that it's not like we need to catch it being popular or relevant right now or anything.
Yeah.
Is Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. I want us to talk about it eventually. It doesn't have to be now. It's not going to be now.
Yeah.
It's not going to be 2020. Probably won't be 2021. But eventually I want to talk about this one because I read it. I think I read it in high school. I know I had read it by the time I finished undergrad. And it was... at this point, it's been long enough that I can't speak to the strength of the prose at the highest section. But for those who don't know what Flowers for Algernon is, it's a book where there's an experiment done on this mouse to make the mouse super duper smart. And so they test it on this mouse, and then they give it to a a person, they give this same thing to a person who starts out with a lower IQ. I don't necessarily think that IQ is the best way to measure kinds of intelligences, but this book is old enough, and for the purpose of this book, IQ was the measure of intelligence. And this was a low IQ person who was given this thing. And the book is done as his diary. And so in his writing, it starts out, they conveyed the lack of intelligence with spelling and grammar issues and lack of punctuation, which I don't necessarily agree with now. But again, this book, I believe, is from, let's see, when was this published? When was 1959. So you can, it's the story, the way that it's conveyed, I think is worth discussing. I don't know if rereading it for the podcast, how I'll feel about how well that it's handled.
Yeah.
But this person's intelligence level changing is conveyed through their writing. And then there's this bit where they're still at their highest point, but the mouse starts decaying and stops being able to do things. So in this very aware state, they look forward and see their projected cognitive decline happening to their lab buddy, this mouse. The mouse is Algernon. And how the book goes probably should be pretty obvious to anyone who's following my description, but I don't technically want to spoil it.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it at some point, because I remember it being very impactful, and I want to re-examine it to see how well we think it was handled with the metrics that we use for this podcast. So that's my answer for that.
All right. My kitty cat. Now, Princess is now gonna sit with me, I think, instead of yell at me from the hallway. I think she's given up on her downstairs dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think my choice for this doesn't want to load, so I can tell you what it is. Oh, Broken Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin.
Mm-hmm.
I actually found this book for our list, just browsing in the library and looking for things. And it is by an author of color, which is part of how I actually found it. I was trying to find something cool, and this cover is amazing. It looks like a city in a tree.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what The Broken Kingdoms is about yet.
Because you haven't read it?
Haven't read it yet. But I was looking for books for the podcast, and I found this. And this is 100% a book where if I was just browsing the library in general, and I just saw this cover, I'd be like, oh, yep, you're coming home with me. So I don't actually know what it's about. But we will find out. Or I will, at least. Because I'm going to read it regardless, even if it takes us 4 years to make it actually onto our show. Next question.
Do you want to pick this one, or you want me to? All right.
Go ahead.
How did you come up with the podcast name? Would you like to tell everyone what you wanted to call this?
Oh, I didn't have a name. I just had a concept.
You did. You had a name.
I don't think
you had what you pitched to me as a name.
I had what I pitched to you, but what I pitched to you already was not a name, and also it already existed as somebody else's podcast that had nothing to do with books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I was originally, I think very literally. Even my creative thinking is incredibly literal, and which I know sounds weird. It just, trust me, it's true. It works. It's true. And So I was thinking initially, like, I wanted trauma in media or in books is what I wanted to talk about. And so my thought was tramedia. But that
Hmm.
already exists. And so I gave it as kind of an example when I asked Robin if they would be my co-host. But like
I remember
I
you
had already
telling me the
Googled
name
it.
TraumaCast. That's the
Oh.
one I remember you saying to me. And I was like, no one is going to listen to the TraumaCast. And so
That was
then,
not even a name that I liked. That was literally just I can't do tramedia. I have to do something else. How do I
oh,
fit
okay.
trauma in there? I don't know. Well, it's a podcast. Like, ah,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't like it either, but it's something for me to at least write on a piece of paper so that I know what this is about when I'm writing things
Yeah.
down.
And
Um,
when I heard it, my thought was either no one's going to show up or they're going to show up and they're going to expect something other than what we are delivering. Which meant
yeah.
that it wasn't quite the right fit. And so once we narrowed the scope down to books
Yes.
specifically, I was like, um, I did think of the idea of burning books, and I was like, what if it's a reversal? What if it's books that burn you? Except we leave off the you because it's implicit and it
Right.
sounds much better.
Yeah, and Robin said books that burn, and I was like, yep, we'll do that one. And then I Googled to make sure it didn't exist, and it didn't. So we went with it.
So
I
now it's
actually
ours.
really like it. Yeah, I'm not. A lot of times, I'm not very good at naming things. My names for things tend to, again, I tend to be very literal. I tend to look up names. I tend to have a meaning that I want, and then I look up names that already mean that, which didn't really work for this
Right.
very well. It works. It works great for like characters that I create, or my D&D character, or a character that I'm creating for something. But when it's just a podcast name, it was like I did not know what to go with. Um, what is our last released episode? What did we put out?
It was Mockingjay.
Mockingjay.
Mockingjay is the most recent thing.
Okay, let's do number 5.
All right.
What character in the last released episode do you relate to the most or feel the most connected to?
Um, I I like Gale a lot, but I don't know if I'd say I feel connected to him.
Hmm.
Um, it we struggled with this series partly because the main topic touches so close to um, stuff in our background, which it's both kind of why we're doing this and things that inform the perspective that we have, but also every once in a while it makes it emotionally difficult to talk about certain books.
Mm-hmm.
And it meant that this series, The Hunger Games, was definitely something that I at least felt more like I was getting through and less something that I was looking forward to. Like, the discussion was really good, but also really stressful. And I didn't have the emotional space to really relate to the characters in that way. But Gale is my favorite character.
So, ironically enough, I think um man, this is hard.
What, the thing that caused an issue for me actually made you relate to too many characters?
Well, no, maybe.
Okay.
So, I actually feel kind of split between Katniss and Gale being the most relatable.
It's about what I thought you'd say.
Okay. Like Katniss definitely there's more like I don't relate at all to Gale being upset at Katniss's behavior. Um, I definitely like he was definitely way more relatable in book 1 than he was anywhere else at all. Like
Mm-hmm.
once his identity went from the things that he did and turned into just like rejected lover or whatever, I kind of quit feeling like he was relatable. But Katniss also goes through not exactly the same, but an actually decently similar, or either analog or literal, to some of the things that I've gone through, and her reaction to the situation she's in isn't far off from my own internal reaction as a kid. And
Yeah.
so, like, really, I feel the most related. Katniss is the most relatable, but I would rather have been Gale, if that makes sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Gale would have been a goal. Katniss was my reality. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird, like, split there.
Mm-hmm. Do some of the more off-topic questions. Pairing together.
Pretty good mix here.
Yeah. What's your favorite drink? And then what's your favorite alcoholic drink?
What number is this?
34, 35.
Oh. Okay.
Putting those two together.
Okay.
So my favorite drink, I promise I'm not making this up, is flat root beer. Preferably about a week old. It's like you open the 2-liter and then you close it and then you leave it alone for about a week. And then it's
that was going to go a
perfect.
different direction. I thought you were going to say you have to leave it open, unclosed.
No.
Week.
You don't want things crawling in it. The point is that the seal needs to be broken. The carbonation will naturally escape, and then it'll be perfect. That's why it needs to be a week. If you want this to happen quick, then you have a couple hours with it open.
Okay.
The weirdest thing I've ever had to drink was microwaved root beer.
Why?
Because we were bored.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Answer.
I mean, we followed that up with dipping chocolate chip cookies in marinara sauce. So it was an interesting night. It was an interesting night with absolutely no alcohol involved. Because everyone
was sober?
Everyone was either under 21 or me.
Fair enough. All right.
Yep.
Okay. My favorite drink is Welch's brand sparkling grape juice. Either red grape or white grape. I think I like red grape a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if I could drink just that for the rest of my life, I would be set and I would never get bored of it ever.
Mm-hmm.
Which I do think that is actually kind of ironic because, all right, so then I'll explain that in a sec. So, what's your favorite alcoholic drink?
My favorite alcoholic drink is butter shots, which is like a butterscotch flavored liqueur in milk. Chocolate milk if I have it, regular milk if I don't. And if I can't have that, then I'll have triple sec, which I drink by itself, which I've been told is weird. But that's what I like. And yeah, I drink somewhere between 1 and 5 times a year.
Okay.
So.
I actually have, okay, so I'm gonna answer this twice. I have my absolute favorite alcoholic drink, which is the boring answer. It is, well, actually, it's not, I mean, it's never gonna be exciting. There is a wine that I have had a couple times, and I have to, like, go find it, that is basically the same taste as the sparkling grape juice that I like, except it is actually the alcoholic version. And I say that that's the boring answer because it's literally just the same drink except alcoholic. However, the alcohol that I drink the most commonly is vodka. And that is what I kind of look for as an option. That's what I kind of default to. Just vodka in general. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Just turn down Robin's audio a little bit. Hopefully we'll match more.
Yeah, we apologize for me shouting in your ear and Nicole whispering.
Yeah, I can't turn myself up at all.
Okay.
I have no control over that. Actually, here, hold on. I'm actually turn... There. We're going to turn Robin down just a bit. Now your images will come back. Oops. There we go. Okay. Next question. So... Robin says...
I listened to it just to check. Sound balance sounds better. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Another question that probably only you will have an answer. If you had to assign a color to the last book released, what would you give it? This is 3 on our list.
Okay. Last book released. I would give it... You know that really almost dusky purple color? That's like... It's purple, but it's almost like it's going gray. I would give it that color.
Okay.
The last book release being Mockingjay from the Hunger Games series. Yeah, I would give it that almost like... It's almost like purple is dying. I would give it that color.
Oh, I like purple. I don't like that description.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Let's jump to 28 because I don't have an answer for the color question.
Fair enough.
Doesn't feel like a real question in my brain. Sorry. Question 28. Who's your favorite painter? Monet. One of the happiest moments in my life. One of, because I have like a lot of nice things happening, but one of the just like purest joy moments was when went to the art museum, I think in Chicago, and I got to stand next to a Monet.
Oh wow!
One of the water lilies ones, and we go to museums. Ava, my wife, looks at all the stuff that she wants to look at, like pop art and whatever art she's into at the time, and I go hunt down all the Monets I can find in the museum. That's what I do. The best thing. What is yours?
Can I answer someone who isn't famous?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. My favorite painter is my friend Chloe.
Oh.
I just love her. I love her art. She doesn't paint as much anymore. A lot of her stuff is more like picture taken now. But anytime I've actually seen her paint, it's always my favorite thing.
Cool.
Oh, that Meow was the junior editor.
Mm-hmm.
That was Haku. She's just weighing in as she jumps up on my desk.
All right, now we get to the meme questions. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck? I go back and forth on this. I think a horse-sized duck. If the number were 50 or fewer, I'd go with the duck-sized horses. But since it's 100, yeah, that's got to be the horse-sized duck.
I think that a horse-sized duck is just a dinosaur.
You make a good point, but because it's a duck, it's not going to be a pack dinosaur.
True.
And so odds are a little better. Also, wouldn't have ducks have something that my understanding is it's not technically teeth, but it's as scary as if it were teeth.
Yeah, it's not technically teeth.
I just remembered their corkscrew-shaped genitals. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Sorry if this is how you just found out that's a thing. Enjoy your Googling after this podcast live stream.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. But yeah, never mind. I'm concerned again. I don't know which one I would want.
Okay, I would actually rather fight 100 duck-sized horses.
Okay, what's your reason?
My reasoning is because, like I said, like a minute ago, a horse-sized duck is just a dinosaur back at dinosaur size. And I think that is less fun than fighting 100 creatures that run around on their fingers, on extended fingers, and who are down and out if you break a limb.
Oh, so you just want to cripple the 100 ducks?
This is a fight, Robin.
I don't like.
This is combat. You have to think strategically. I would rather not fight an animal that knows it used to be a dinosaur and is aggressive at duck sized, blown up to be bigger than me. I would rather fight 100 animals who, at full size, are crippled by a break in a limb one time.
Yeah,
It's combat.
This clearly just isn't the hypothetical for me.
Well, it's also pitting one of your favorite animals against an animal that you just know unpleasant facts about.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna like my answer either way.
That's true. I was never going to like your answer. It doesn't really matter what it was. If you could become any spider, what spider would you be?
Okay, you need to tell me the numbers on
21.
these.
21. Any
Okay.
spider, what spider would you be? I have some favorite spiders. If I had to actually be a spider, I think I would want to be a spider that doesn't really live near humans so that I could live the longest and not get squished. I want to be the Goliath spider, the one that's like the size of a dinner plate, and I believe lives in South America, but I might be wrong about the location. But if I could just look like any spider, I would want to be the Hawaiian happy face spider. Because they just have smiley faces on their abdomens, and it's just super cute. And they're like bright yellow, and they've got smiley faces on them. And I like that. I just like spiders, so. What about you?
I would like to be I would like to be the tarantula hawk spider.
Okay. Did you do research before this question, or did you
Nope.
just... Okay.
I just already know about this. It's actually, well, okay, actually no, this is probably not now I can't remember if this is actually a spider or if this is a wasp that kills spiders. Hold on. Now I might have to actually do research. Let me just check real quick. One sec. Oh, no, the tarantula hawk is a spider wasp that preys on tarantulas. Just kidding, I take it back. That would be a spider killer and not a spider. I just think they're neat. Okay. Also, you don't want to get stung by them because, yeah. I would like to be any of the spiders that... Okay, maybe I'm not... I don't know. Okay, there is a spider who I think lives in Australia. I think. This might be wrong. I think they live in Australia. But they cover bushes and trees with their webs, and it looks like they've just been encased. I know there are caterpillars that do this in the US. That's not what I'm talking about. This is an actual spider that does a similar thing. And their spider webs look how I envision my brain, and so I think I would be one of them to kind of stay as much of myself as possible.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go with that.
Okay.
All right.
Uh,
Let me see.
so 36. Do you play video games? What ones do you like?
Robin,
The
you go
answer is
first.
yes. Yes. I play more computer games than video games.
If
I
it's
really,
that counts as a video game these days.
I really, really like Neverwinter Nights, specifically Neverwinter Nights 2. People on Steam, please emulate this. I am waiting to play it. My I I have bought this game repeatedly because I kept losing download codes, and then I recently tried to put it on my computer, and it has glitches that make you just not get items and things because something that was written for Windows XP doesn't work very well on Windows 10. So, a little bit of a problem. Maybe Neverwinter Nights 2 was for Windows 7, but either way, it's not going well.
It was Windows XP.
Yeah. I know Neverwinter Nights 1 was, and I think 2 was also.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my favorite one just in the past. My current favorite game is one called Hades, which is by Supergiant Games. And you're the son of Hades, named Zagreus, and you're battling your way out of hell. And every time you die, you just start over, which is great because there's no anxiety about dying. Like, there's consequences. It's more like you don't accomplish your goal yet, which is a nice zone to be in for a game. I like it. They're doing really interesting things as a studio with or as a game developer with the structure of their games because they went from having one where there's like totally different ways to do the ending, which I know is a standard thing, to so that was in Bastion, and then in Transistor, um, playing around with the game having a looping structure, and then in Pyre they did this interesting thing where failure doesn't mean the end that I really like. And then here it feels like an evolution to that next kind of game where not only does failure not mean the end, but you can't progress unless you died. Which feels to me like the next level in this really cool way.
Yeah.
It's still currently in early access. And when I first got it like a year ago, I'd played a whole bunch for about a week, and then I'd wait for the next update, and then I'd play a lot for about a week, and then just kind of cycled that. But now there's enough in the game that I don't really have to stop and wait for the next update because it's robust enough. So, yeah.
Okay. Oh man. Okay,
I know
so
you play.
I play a lot of things. I play a lot of video games. Pretty much. So for money reasons, I am strictly a PC gamer. I don't own any consoles at all. Current video games that I have been playing. I've been actually going back. I found an emulator for Game Boy Advance, and I've actually recently, in the last less than a month, started playing Pokemon for the first time, other than Pokemon Go. And so I'm currently playing through Leaf Green. So that's my current solo game that I've been keeping up with. Then I also, oh my gosh. So a student's parent recently gave me a cat toy that makes bird noises, and Haku apparently likes it, which I didn't know how that would go, but she will spend time and she'll just throw it so it makes noise. So if she does it a lot more, I'll grab it and I'll take it from her for now. But trying not to get up from this. So I've been playing Pokemon Leaf Green, and I've also been playing Stardew Valley with a couple people that I have saves for. Alright, hold on. One sec.
Alright.
Robin, your turn for a second. Let me just take my cat's toy from her. have it yelling for a while.
Games that I like. I also have logged an absurd amount of time in Stardew Valley. To be clear, I haven't actively played Stardew Valley in like 6 to 8 months, and I still have. I played in spurts. Won't play much, and then I'll play it a lot for like a month or so, then I won't play a lot. And with that, over the years, I've logged about 600 some hours with Stardew Valley, which is a lot. Like Minecraft, I dip in and out every couple of years, same kind of thing. I mostly play a ton of games. There's the games that I play when I'm sick, and then there's the games that I like just as ways to relax generally. So Stardew Valley, I'll play when I get sick. And I just can't function, can't do anything, and I just go to work and then play a computer game.
I'm back.
Yeah. I was just saying that when I'm very sick is when I play games like Stardew Valley.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so I've recently been playing Stardew with friends, pretty much only with friends. I don't really work in my solo farms anymore. I've been actually replaying Undertale, streaming it for a friend who had bought it years ago and then kind of didn't really ever play it, but they wanted to like experience it, so I was playing it again because I wanted to replay it myself, but I was also, they're kind of the ones making the decisions. I play League of Legends. Actually, you know what I want to get into soon? There's a game that at least today, and I don't know how long, but Black Desert Online, which is normally a buy it once, play it forever game, is actually free for their anniversary, and so I went ahead and grabbed that from my Steam, and I'm gonna at least check it out. And I've been working through one of my favorite game series. I haven't beaten it yet, but I'm also trying not to look up the answers. I've been playing Riven. So as far as like my favorite games, I have a weird mix of like newer and then super old. So my 5 favorite games, these are the ones that I come back to and I replay over and over. I have The Path, Undertale, Neverwinter Nights, all variations. I like Neverwinter Nights 2, Neverwinter Nights Platinum, the Neverwinter Nights MMO Online. I play all of those. The Baldur's Gate series, which is Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out I think very soon, and it's either out already or it's out soon, and I'm really excited for that. And then the Myst series, which Riven is number 2 in the Myst series. And the Myst recently, or semi-recently, like in the last 4 years, got remastered. And so I have the remastered versions of all 5 of them. So I think it's kind of funny that I just named 5 games that are pretty solidly solo player games other than that one MMO. But most of the time, I actually play MMOs. I don't, or at the very least multiplayer. I don't spend most of my time on solo player things, but my top 5 favorites they're all solo player games. I find that kind of amusing. I hadn't actually thought about that before. I don't know why that is, but, just in case anybody has no clue what some of those older ones are, so, Undertale was semi-recent. Undertale is that game where you go through and you're playing as a human who fell underground in a monster world, and every decision you make actually affects the ending, and there's like I think hundreds of endings. And then Deltarune is the sequel, quote unquote. It's not really, but it kind of is. And that one, your decisions do not affect the end, but also it's not officially out yet, so we'll see what happens with that. I know Toby Fox has stated that Deltarune will have one ending, but it still has multiple. You can still make different decisions in it, and you can experience different things, which is cool. So The Path is actually a a Little Red Riding Hood inspired game. It's very horror genre style, very dark. I think it's technically a walking simulator, actually, game. I didn't actually know that was a style when I first started playing The Path. I don't think I've ever played any others that I've enjoyed. But there's only one rule in The Path, and that is stay on the path. But to win, you have to break that rule. And you play all the way through with 5 different characters who all have different storylines, and they all have different things, and they're all sisters, and all of their names mean red. And all of their wolves are different. If horror games, I would say even that don't, not necessarily like jump scare games, but like ambiance horror games, if that's not your thing, I would not recommend this game. But if you like horror and you want to just experience character stories, The Path is amazing. It's very well done. It's very kind of relaxing to play through, honestly. Neverwinter Nights it's a D&D solo play RPG. You go through, you hack and slash monsters. You earn gold, level up. Yeah, it's D&D the video game. It's solo player D&D the video game. Baldur's Gate is D&D the party the video game. Baldur's Gate, it's very similar to Neverwinter, except that you are in charge of multiple characters.
There is one of the segments of Neverwinter Nights 2 is a multiplayer thing. Like, there are bits of Neverwinter Nights and Neverwinter Nights 2 that are structured as as like more than one person in the party. You still control everybody, but you have NPCs.
There's definitely party. Elements of that, but as far as like
the main focus, Baldur's Gate is always a group. Neverwinter Nights is like, it is a group. It's different.
It's cool. It's older, but it's cool.
Actually, Baldur's Gate is older.
Oh no, I meant older as in like it's not made in the last 10 years.
Oh, okay.
I didn't mean older than Baldur's Gate. I meant just like it's an older game.
Yeah. Ready for another question?
Myst. Last one. Myst is a puzzle experience game. Each of the 5 Myst games, I believe all of them are set on the same island that is like Puzzle Island. You have to go through and you have to physically flip this lever to turn electricity on to this thing that unlocks this other thing that lets you take the gate across, that lets you turn on the controls, that lets you do this thing, that lets you turn on the boat that'll actually let you leave, it's all of that, but it's like old school puzzle. So like the original Myst pretty much has almost no moving visual things. Riven actually has more. Riven actually has like cutscenes and characters that move and like things that happen. But it's I don't know enough about gaming history to say that it's the game that started that genre, but it's definitely very, very early in that genre. All right, next question.
39. As a new podcast, do you have any advice for people looking to start podcasting? From more of like an admin setup, letting people know about your podcast thing, I spent a solid week where every day for like an hour or so a day, I worked on finding directories to be in, and just like, every day for like a week, I gave like an hour of research time in my day to working on things for the podcasts. You don't have to do every single thing all at once. You can do stuff in stages to try and like get things done.
Yeah. I kind of have two things. So, actually, I really want to say it was Justin and Travis McElroy did a panel Q&A a couple years ago where they basically talk about like things that they learned and things that they got better at, as that things that they messed up, basically ways that you could be better than they were. And it's about an hour long, but honestly, like the questions that they're actually, like the things that they actually have to say that are not audience questions, there's about half of the panel. And I would say go listen to that.
Okay.
a good part, like not all of it, but a good part of the things that I already knew to look out for or to make sure that we had set up, or things that I knew would be important, came out of just hearing them talk about all the ways that they've messed up and like, hey, don't be like us. Here's a thing to do. Here are things to expect. Here's things that definitely flew in the podcast world 10 years ago when this wasn't really a thing yet that you won't get away with now because people have expectations now. That was very informative listening for me.
Okay.
Other than that, I would just say, take things for test runs. Like, I don't want to say that there's one certain way to do podcasting, or there's one specific way to set things up, or there's one format that you have to follow or whatever. I don't want to say that. But what I will say is, even if you think you know how it's going to go, put up a test. See how, and don't be afraid to change what your setup is for anything if it's not working out. I can actually, like, for this live stream, we did kind of a trial run about a week ago, and we kind of had it set up, and we thought it was pretty good. And then today, as I was setting this up about an hour ahead of time, there were things that I wanted to add and change that we changed last minute, and we wouldn't have been able to do that if we hadn't already had at least one attempt where we kind of, without an audience, where we kind of just went, okay, we've got it so where we want it, and then we had like a week to think about it. It's the same thing with our recordings. We've changed days, and sometimes, I don't think we've really changed how often we're recording ever, but we've definitely changed the day that we're recording on. We've changed how much ahead of our actual release we want to be with recording, just so we don't ever skip anything. I've changed as the audio editor. I've changed my approaches to editing 3 or 4 different times, and you have to be able to, and you have to be willing to, which means doing things to see how they work and giving yourself time to test them out before you're at crunch time. So that would be my advice is, try things out and don't be afraid to change it if it's not working.
Cool. I think we should do question 13, which kind of dovetails a little bit with something you just said there. Question is, how long does it take you to read a book for the podcast, and how far in advance do you start reading typically? I do too many things and have problems with time management. If you know me, that probably sounds weird because I get so many things done. That's because I don't know how to relax and don't enjoy having free time, and so I keep giving myself projects to do, which is why I'm depending on how you count it, either 51 or 59 books into an Animorphs reread right now.
I think we're going to say 59 because you're reading everything.
I'm reading all the things. Haven't decided yet if I'm going to read Alternative Morphs or not. But we'll see. So anyway, with reading a book for the podcast, it depends on the book. both of us read very quickly. My reading speed is 1,200 to 1,800 words a minute, depending on font size and column width. I read in a kind of peculiar way, and I read faster when columns are narrower up to a point. And so, any books that I get that I read digital copies of, it's extremely quick for me to read it when it's on my phone, and still pretty quick to read for print books. So I can read an Animorphs book in 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the size of them. They have a little variance. For longer books, basically it'll take me about, on average, 45 minutes per 100 pages of the book. That varies a little bit book by book, but that's a pretty good guide.
I can definitively state I have never started a book for the podcast more than a week before finishing it. There have been a couple of times where we've read a book and intended to record it on a certain date, and then that got postponed for some reason. But I have never started a book more than a week ahead of when we are planning at first to record it. And I've never failed. There's the only book that I've ever failed to finish was we're planning for our episodes. I did not fail because of time. I didn't run out of time. I chose to stop reading it. How long it takes for me to read a book for the podcast? That I'm right up there with Robin. Animorphs definitely take me less than a half an hour. I don't actually know exactly how long. But it's less than 30 minutes for sure. And I think Hunger Games, I think each book took me a maximum of maybe 3 hours, but Hunger Games was also a series where I read some and then I had to walk away, and then I read some and then I go and got food and I came back and I read some more, which most of our books are not so far. And so I would say I usually allot myself about 8 hours of time in my week to read a book start to finish. Because, and also we haven't really tackled any books that would require me to allow myself more time than that. So I can actually have a pretty solidly busy week, but if I have like a couple of 4-hour chunks and I dedicate them to reading, or if I can commit like an hour most days, I will finish a book in time for us to record it. Yeah, we both read pretty ridiculously quickly. So that does allow us to we actually record once a week, and we only put out an episode every 2 weeks. But like, yeah, our reading speeds allow us to keep up that pace in perpetuity, pretty much. All right. This one is possibly show related depending on the book, and maybe not. Number 9. What book have you read in the last 2 years that was the most enjoyable to either read or reread?
I really, really like this series called the Newsflash Trilogy by Mira Grant, who I recently learned is a pseudonym for an author that's, I believe it's pronounced Shannon McGuire. Might be a little bit off on the pronunciation, I'm not sure. But Mira Grant is the pen name for this series, and it's the Newsflash Trilogy. It's Feed, Deadline, and Blackout. And then I discovered that there's a 4th book, and I'm very excited. I read the 4th book, and there's also a short story collection. I gotta get that, read that. Zombies, blogging, presidential campaigns. When I first read it, it was in 2013, and I was in DC for the inauguration. And the book has the zombies come in 2014, and then the books are set in the late 2030s, early 2040s. So when I was reading them the very first time, it was in the future. But now it's a series where the main trilogy I have reread every couple of years, um, since I discovered them in 2013, and then now I read the so Feedback takes place during the events of book one, which was Feed, of book one of the trilogy, but Feedback covers the other party's presidential campaign, and you find out stuff that you just didn't know. Um, and at first, I thought it was going to be that it spoiled stuff for the original trilogy, but the original trilogy couldn't spoil anything for it. And then when I was rereading the original trilogy, there's some comment that tells you something about how characters from that book end up. And I was like, oh, they're it's not an Ender's Game, Ender's Shadow situation, but it comes closer to that than it might otherwise have. Um, anyway, I really like that trilogy, and I really enjoyed getting to read the new book that went with it. So,
For me, it would probably be. Oh man. I think okay, so Tamora Pierce has a series that is two quartets and then kind of a duo and then like a standalone ending story. At least for now, ending story. Um and it's her circle set of circle series. So she has the Circle of Magic, the Circle Opens, and then the Circle Reforged is technically the last three books. And I had read the Circle of Magic, the Circle Opens, and the duo books that kind of go together in the Circle Reforged. But then I found out bought and read The Will of the Empress, which is her final, at least so far, currently, final wrap-up book for that series, about a year and a half ago, and it made me so happy. Just to, first off, to know that there was a book where it had all four main protagonists in it again, and also just the way it kind of set up the characters. And I don't want to spoil it, but like it was just a very good reread. Very good read. And it made me happy that she's still putting out things in that universe even now. It's definitely one of my favorite books. Oh, and then I guess also for the podcast, we actually, the first series that we put out was The Old Kingdom, and having an excuse to reread that made me very happy.
mm-hmm.
There was one on here. I'm trying to find it. Okay, let's go back to kind of a goofier one.
Okay, sure.
Number 32. If you were trapped on a desert island, what 4 objects would you bring? Now, before we answer this, do we want to establish rules? Because usually whenever I see this kind of a question presented, there's always some caveat. It's always some stricture. There's always some, like, you don't worry about survival. This is non-survival things. Or it's always like, or it's always like survival only. Like, what do you think you have to have? Like, are we just going to end this on our own or are we going to just answer this on our own interpretation?
I'd say we answer our own interpretation because that's all we got from the question.
Okay,
so,
fair enough.
Yeah. Not going to artificially constrain it.
All right, then. Do you have an answer, or you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. I think I'm going to say, I think I'm going to interpret this question as 4 objects outside of survival situations. Like, so, like not necessarily, not like, I'm not going to answer with water purifier, for example. I think the 4 objects that I would absolutely want to have that would just make me feel better about the situation. I would want to have I would want to have a solid outdoor weatherproof blanket. I would want a giant piece of already weatherproof cloth that I could just wear as a cloak, use as a blanket, wrap up in, multi-purpose thing. So that would be one. I would want to have... I would probably want to have... Man, I would either... You know what? I was going to say I would want to have shampoo and conditioner and a brush so I could, like, take care of my hair. I take it back. If I was in this situation, I would just cut my hair off. I wouldn't even attempt to try and deal with it because, like, my hair will get, like, very messy very quickly if I don't shower and shampoo and do certain... I have, like, a conditioner routine so that I don't have to spend a lot of time on it every day. And I think if I was truly trapped on a desert island, I wouldn't want to commit to that, and I would just cut my hair off. So I take it back on that one. So that blanket, I would probably want to have my favorite rock. I wouldn't want to find one. I have a favorite rock.
Wait. You only get 4 items on... I was just going to let you slide. You only get 4 items on this desert island, and one of them
is a whetstone that is also a stim toy and is a thing I've had most of my life. Yes.
Okay. It's your life on a desert island. In this scenario.
This is fictional. I can say whatever I want.
No. You can say whatever you want, and I can pick
in that vein, though, items. I would also want a Navy SEAL grade army knife. And I would want 200 feet of rope.
Yeah.
Those would be my 4 things.
Let me see. I want a generator. Not too big, like a... Never mind. Not a generator. I want a sailboat and a book on how to sailboat.
Okay.
And a tarp and a dirty container that'll hold water.
Okay.
And then I would sail away from the desert island using my tarp to catch water in my container. And I would get out. Or I'd use the boat to fish and travel and explore things while I lived on the island.
This is trapped, though. You are changing this. You are explicitly saying I refuse to be trapped.
Yes. I refuse to be trapped.
Okay.
And if it turns out that I'm actually that, like, it's lost style or something, well, I guess I'll just figure that out, and that will be not fun to find out that I'm actually in a different dimension and I can never leave the island.
struggles.
But yeah, that's what I need. Because even if I'm not going anywhere, having a boat to be able to fish more is good. A tarp is
Okay.
still essential. A water container is still essential. And if the book is like a general survival book that just also happens to include how to sail a boat, that is the book I would want.
Okay.
Because I do not have the knowledge to just survive. So reference material is essential.
All right, that's fair.
Yep. All right, we have 20 minutes left. What questions do you want to make sure that we get to because of interest?
We still have quite a few left. Any that don't make it to this stream, we will most likely answer in our March stream. So.
Yep.
Actually, there's a couple I think we should wait and maybe answer when we've released a few more books.
Sure. If you could fall in love with anyone in any book you've covered, who would it be?
Which number
Number
is this?
30. If you could fall in queer platonic partnership with anyone in any book we've covered, who would it be?
Yeah, I'm gonna think of this as who would I want to share a life with. Oh man. I would just want to go live in the Old Kingdom. So...
Same. There's a reason it was the first series.
Yeah, there's a reason we started the show with that series.
Yeah. Let me guess. You want to go live with the Abortions. Am I right?
I want to go live with Mogget. I want to go hang out with Mogget. No, yeah, that's correct. I would want to go live in the Abortions' house.
Right. I want to go live with the Claire.
Okay, that's all right. Oh, yeah.
I want their library.
I want to go live. I just want to learn charter magic. Nope. Yes, I do want to go live with the Abortions. But not the Abortions in Clariel. I want to live with them in the other 4 books.
Yeah. No, not the Abortions who have abandoned all the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, nope. Old Kingdom for both of us, it looks like. And then just different parts of it, and I'm very pleased that I guessed which part you would want.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Have I actually told you about
And if I were going to fall in love with anyone, it would be probably the twins.
Right. Rael and... Oh, what's her
Starts
other...
with an S.
It does.
Rael talks the most.
Yeah. I'm unsurprised also. Did I tell you about the D&D character that I'm playing in a campaign soon?
No.
I'm basing her off of the Abortions and their magic.
Oh, cool.
She is a I'll tell you later, but she's a bard. I think she's a bard wizard multiclass.
Cool.
Or she's whichever. It's a bard / there's a class that you can have a specialization as a necromancer, and she's that one.
Okay.
Oh, and her instrument of choice is the bagpipes, because she wants to reach all the way across the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Because 5e allows that as an option.
Oh, cool.
All right.
We haven't answered any questions about the assistant editors.
We have not.
So
we don't really have a lot of questions about them either.
Right, but we have more than one, so we should do that.
It's true.
15, 16, 17. Which of the assistant editors puts in the most time working?
I would argue probably Kohaku.
Mm-hmm. That's the junior assistant
That's
editor.
our junior assistant editor. She is the one who is the most vocal to me when I'm working. She's the one that comes up and checks in on what I'm doing the most. She's the one that meows in the background of our recordings the most. To be fair, she's also the youngest with the most energy, and she naps less than Princess does. So, she's awake more to do things. But yeah, I would argue that she puts in the most time just being up in the recording process and in the editing process.
All right. Which of the assistant editors has the best ideas?
Uh, Probably Princess.
That's what I thought you would say. Like, she
Ha-
doesn't talk as much, but she only talks when she, like, has something.
Yeah, she thinks before she contributes, and I don't have to spend any time stopping her from, like, shoving my fan away from the vents or moving my laptop from where I had it or trying to play with computer cords. I don't have to do any of that. I would argue it's not necessarily that Princess has a greater volume of good ideas. It's that I have
Just
to
fear bad ideas.
Yeah, I have to I have to rein her in for bad ideas less than I do Haku. Haku just has a greater percentage of things that I have to tell her no to.
Yeah. And it was Kohaku who interrupted the stream earlier, right?
No.
Oh, Princess had
That
the
was
bird
actually
toy?
Princess. Princess wanted me to go downstairs.
No, someone had the bird toy.
Oh, that was Haku, yes.
Yeah. Oh, for the anime / Miyazaki fans, that is Kohaku in a reference to Spirited Away.
Yes. She's my little river spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we actually have pictures up on Instagram of her chilling in my sink.
Yep.
She is super happy to be in there. Anytime I'm anywhere near the bathroom, she just jumps up, goes in the sink, and hangs out. She
And then
thinks it's comfortable.
Yep.
Do they get along? Most of the time.
Yeah, it was, to be clear, I do not live with them. Nicole's the one who does.
Yeah.
And the updates that I got about what was happening, it was really rough for a bit. Kohaku was brought in so that Princess would not be alone after her previous companion passed.
Yeah.
And so Princess was like, who is this? Why are they in my house?
Yeah.
What do you mean we have to work together? And Kohaku was like, I'm your new partner.
Kohaku was like, play. And Princess is like, I'm 13 and a half. Why are you doing this to me? Yeah, so they actually get along pretty well now. I've had Haku since last May. I did initially adopt her because Princess being the only cat in the house was so stressful for her and me. And I initially adopted Haku so that she would have another cat. She would have not be all alone when I was at work. But I definitely needed Haku also.
Yeah.
So she's just part of the squad now. She and Princess still squabble when Haku is like, but I really, really, really want to chase another cat around the house. And Princess basically smacks her in the face and just goes, no. I don't want to do this. You go run by yourself. And then Haku runs away, and it's fine. But they definitely, like, had to figure out how to coexist at first, including a good part of when we were already releasing episodes, actually. I don't think they really kind of chilled out and just are living lives as, like, as roommates, as part of our little cat pack, until close to November, or maybe even December. But yeah, they're just buddies now. They nap together, they hang out together. Usually they nap together when they're both napping with or on me.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, usually Princess will be asleep somewhere, and Haku will just come up and curl up next to her, and they'll just hang.
Cool.
So,
Ah.
and I will
Appreciate
try, once we start posting more kitty photos on our Instagram, I'll try and capture some of those moments too. If I can do it without waking them up, so that one or both of them gets up and leaves.
There's a question I wanted to make sure we get to. Number 40. Guilty pleasures are no good. What's one thing that makes you unapologetically joyful?
I really like this question.
That can't be the one thing that makes you unapologetically joyful. You need
No,
an
it's
actual
not,
answer.
but it's...
Sorry, I was kidding. Like, what makes you unapologetically joyful?
This question. Yeah, totally. No. Oh, man.
I like, interesting. I kind of want to say, skating, maybe.
You want to say what?
Skating.
Skating? Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I
That's good.
play a sport on skates called roller derby. Um, and I just it's so good. Um I really like it. My favorite thing to do, just as just like a fun just motion on skates, is this thing called that we call side surfing, where I basically have my my feet in second position, but I'm crouching, and I just am skating sideways while crouched.
Huh.
And I can go halfway around the track without on just like one push of that and just ride that. And then I can just turn my feet and face the other direction but still side surf for another quarter of the track without needing to push off again.
Nice.
And it's a really good stretch and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, skating in general, I just really, really like. The other answer is just reading, but that one gets tricky because it's so dependent on what I'm reading.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think just... I really like learning new physical things. I like learning. I'm a martial artist. I like learning new techniques. I'm a dancer. I like learning new steps. I'm a musician. I like learning new instruments. Um, I have a goal where a dream where if I had enough money, this would already be what I would be doing, but I do not. Of actually being a blacksmith or a glassblower. Um, I like physical things, and I like learning new ways to move and ways to do things. Um, and I think that just being in environments where I get to try something new, and I mean I like learning new things in my head also, but like I like learning new techniques for skills, and just being in situations where I can do new things um, makes me very, very happy. It doesn't really matter. Like there's very few. I guess it does matter what it is because the more it ties into an interest that I already have, the more I enjoy it. Um, but like you can put me in most dance circumstances. You can put me in most martial art circumstances. You can hand me most instruments that I don't already know very well and say, "Hey, we're going to practice this thing." And just doing that makes me happy. Doing really anything with metal or metalworking, learning about woodworking, um, practicing skills with woodworking. Um, if I ever got to try anything with glass blowing, and I haven't yet because I am too poor to afford classes. Um, just even if it didn't become my job, just learning those skills is that thing to me.
Circle back for some book questions for the end.
Yeah, we can
What
probably
book?
get 2 or 3 depending on how long we answer.
What book on the to read list are you looking forward to the most? Question 1.
Um, let's see what is on our to read list.
So things where I haven't read it, but I trust that it'll be good is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. That, or maybe We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. I'm really looking forward to reading those 2 books. I know like just a little bit about each of them, and I'm very interested and really looking forward to them. Like Long Way Down is set in an elevator, is my understanding, and the styles, like oh, some spots it's closer to a prose poem than regular prose, and so I'm intrigued.
Okay.
My favorite thing that I really hope we cover someday that I have read is a book called Thirsty by M.T. Anderson, which it's a vampire book where vampires are born, not made. And it's this kid who basically hits puberty and finds out that he's a vampire, but he didn't get raised with the vampires. So, it's not, it's just, it's such a good book. And I really hope that we will cover it someday. And if we, probably, I will read it as part of my reviews on Twitter sooner than when we would get to it on the main podcast, because I really like this book.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm gonna give 2 answers because there's definitely a couple book lists on here, or a couple books on our list that I've just read before and I just really enjoy, and then there's some that I haven't that I am definitely looking forward to. So I am well, okay. This is looking forward to the most. The series I'm definitely looking forward to the most is actually Tamora Pierce's Circle series that I mentioned before earlier in the stream. Outside of that series, because I've already talked about it, I am actually looking forward to Symphony of Ages by Elizabeth Hayden. I've read it a couple different times. I own it. And I honestly just really want to see what Robin's opinions on it are.
Because I have not read this.
Yeah, because Robin has not read it at all, and it's kind of outside of the a couple of different stereotypical fantasy plot lines. It's not as cookie cutter as even some, like, I'm not saying that other fantasy is all cookie cutter, but like there's definitely fantasy stories where you kind of start the book and you're like, I know where this is going. And without being like a turns and twists and like without it being like a giant surprise, the series is very, very different. It's very not like that. And so I'm kind of curious what Robin will end up thinking.
Okay.
As far as a book that I have not read yet, I would probably say the one that I'm the most looking forward to, is probably Spin the Dawn, the Blood of Stars series by Elizabeth Lim. This is a 2-book series, and I don't know. I really like the title, and I really want to know what it's talking about.
Okay.
Just sounds really cool. And I if I remember correctly, the one time I looked up the the cover. The cover looked really interesting too.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Well, cool. So again,
Yeah.
don't know when we're gonna get to any of those, but those are ones. Well, I know when we're gonna get to one of them. But become a patron, find out when. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It is 10 o'clock our time and just hit some hour on whatever you are. Except if I know we have a listener in Nepal, and I vaguely remember something from years ago about Nepal's time zone being like 15 minutes offset from other time zones. So it's
What?
not on the hour for you. If
Oh,
I'm right
wow.
about that factoid, yeah. Um, but for most time zones, it just hit on the hour. And thank you so much for joining us. I live in the southern US and I have to turn off my air conditioning in order to have good audio quality. So it's been amazing having you, but I need air conditioning again. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us.
Thank you, guys, and we'll upload for Patreons if we have anybody listening. We'll upload the audio to the stream, assuming all went well and it was actually captured correctly. We'll upload that in the next week. Um, so, yeah. Thank you for being here with us, and we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.